you feel that you were ready to basically do this full time? So you worked at where before?
I was in investment banking in New York first, and then at a French bank, and then I worked for IBM.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
I was working remotely.
When was the moment that you realized that you could do LEVO full time?
I pretty much did as much as I could without, like, I wanted to end everything on good terms. I wanted good juju, like, all around me. So when the responsibilities were too much for me to, balance both and not start, like, affecting other people, like, being so negligent in my job or anything like that, I wasn't comfortable with that. But I knew for a long time that was my plan. It was just about, like, constantly balancing, like how far can I push either side of it, And when I got to a point where I would have been completely overcommitted to keep going that way, that was when I knew. So it wasn't really an emotional thing, because I had it in my head emotionally for a really long time. It was all about logistics. Like, literally, I was just living every day to, like, figure out, like, what is necessary to get to the next step. And that was, like, a lot of puzzles in my personal life, my work life, like, everything.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Question for you, Olivia. So when Chrissy came to you with the LEVO device, we spoke about how excited you were about it, and how this was really something that I think, like, you really just took to, not necessarily just like, oh, this is something where I can, like, almost stop being a freelancer and really focus on this one specific thing that I believe in. Yeah. Was there kind of like a brand ethos behind LEVO? So, like, now there's kind of like if you go to the website, levooil.com, you have a vibe from the site. There's a color palette, there's a branding. Just talk about a little bit of that process and working through that to kind of where it is now.
Yeah, I definitely right away was, like, very impressed with the design of the product and the branding. So she had, worked with different people on getting, like, the actual logo and the colors. So we had this LEVO green already.
I love the LEVO green.
The LEVO green was already there.
I'm turning the whole screen green.
Yeah. So that was kind of some signature, assets I had to work with. And from there, I kind of developed a better understanding of the brand via Chrissy, on what we were trying to, come across as someone that's, in the cannabis industry, is kind of trying to elevate the brand, but also be accessible to a multitude of different people. So we tried to really tighten what the messaging was and make sure that it came across really elevated. And that's kind of been the driving force, is keeping everything super classy and super easy to understand, and available for all different types of people.
She's so nice, though, because when I got her involved, I was so apologetic. I'm like, I knew that, like, my attempt of, like, social media and, like, copywriting and, like, all that stuff, like, I'm so square in the way that I operate, and I kept being, like, so apologetic. She's like, it's not that bad. I'm like, it's so embarrassing, because she just seemed to me like looking at her portfolio and things she had done before, I was just like, she was it's like so her expertise, so I was just like so embarrassed at the condition of all of that stuff when she got there.
The social things, that was definitely something we had to clean that up.
She made her initial evaluation.
Yes, but the most important thing for a brand is the brand really cool? Is it a strong product? And that I knew without a doubt. So
I think it's easier to build a brand around something that is legitimately, like, a great device.
Yeah, totally. I wasn't pulling strings out. It was something where I just had to build it, but the infrastructure was very strong. So that's kind of where I started.
She got the vision, and my struggle was, like, I didn't know how to communicate it to, like on a business level. I felt like I could talk to somebody like her and, like, convey it, but I couldn't, like, actually put that into, like, content or, like, make it look cool.
Yeah, and
anything,
in a lot of ways, this being the most important thing about having a team is that, and I've learned this lesson, is that you can't do it by yourself, because a lot of times to build something like you've built, you're very linear towards that, and sometimes you have so much focus on that. Yeah. How can you see outside an outside perspective?
Yeah.
You need somebody else that's their sole focus.
Yeah, totally.
So that's part of, obviously, building a team. And we talked about you two just being very passionate about this, and they kind of came to you, right?
Yeah, like, both Olivia and Bo, like, were in my life for years before this, and then it happened very organically that, like, at the same time I, like left and went full time on it and started raising outside money, like the universe kind of like surfaced them to me in like perfect timing and right around the same time. Like I had conversations with both of them like literally within weeks of each other. So it was, and it was really organic, and I've experienced before like trying to push people to work on it, and that does not work. You can't
force people to.
Yeah, you can be so blindly passionate about what you're doing that sometimes you can't see the difference in somebody that like organically really wants to work on it and shares the vision with you and sees the same thing you see, or somebody who's just like you persuaded them into seeing it.
Right.
And that's not the same. It's very different. You
Right.
know? And you can like kind of that linear thinking that you're talking about, like you could totally blind yourself to a lot of things.
Right.
But yeah, the creative was totally like a weakness of mine that I knew like I wasn't strong at, and I really wanted help for, and like I needed more like round thinking. I'm just too So
I mean, being part of being a great leader is identifying the things that you need help with.
Thanks. Yeah, it was very obvious to me that I needed help.
I agree with
like
that.
SOS, like little white flag.